Saludos amigos, los invitamos a escuchar la mesa redonda de Round Table, donde discutimos los temas del día, hablando de política, educación y otros temas, locales, regionales y mundiales, por USA la Radio. Señores siguientes de USA la Media, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Round Table desde el corazón del barrio hispano en la ciudad del amor fraternal, from the heart of the Hispanic neighborhood in the city of brotherly love, where we actually have two sculptures dedicated to love. We have the love one and the amor sculpture by Robert Indiana. So if you want to access the website, you'll hear a lot of commentary. Se dio mucho comentario sobre la estatua, la escultura Amor, dedicada a sus vecinos hispanos por el escultor Robert Indiana. Pueden oír la voz del suscrito haciendo comentarios sobre la dedicación de esta escultura, que está ahí frente, está en la calle 18 y el Parkway, frente a la Basílica. La estatua Amor que se puso en las escaleras del Museo de Arte de Filadelfia, cuando vino aquí el Papa en el 2015 y dijo misa desde las escaleras del museo. Y esa escultura estaba allí al lado del altar. Les habla Fernando Mendez, estamos aquí en compañía de Dylan Di Rosato, al tablero. Tenemos un programa, pues, bueno, lleno de titulares, noticias de toda parte. Nacionalmente, una noticia sorprendente, importante. John Bolton dice que va a testificar en el juicio del Senado si el Senado emite una orden de que se presente. John Bolton says he will testify at impeachment trial if Senate issues a subpoena based on a careful consideration and study. That's what he said, John Bolton. The rumor is that if he doesn't testify, that he's going to say what he has to say in relation to this whole scandal of the phone call to the president of Ukraine, which is the basis for the impeachment. We should have all the evidence possible. In spite of what Senator Lindsey says, that we don't need to see any, to hear more testimony. Contrary to what he said a long time ago in relation to the impeachment of Bill Clinton, where he said that we should hear all the witnesses because there's no way to conduct a trial without witnesses, and now he says that we don't need any witnesses. Why? Because the senator can read polls. El senador Lindsey puede leer las encuestas que lo favorecen mientras esté apoyando al señor Trump. Senator Lindsey can read those polls that give him a higher number because he's supporting Donald Trump. If he speaks against Trump, he's afraid he's going to lose his job. So this is really a very pragmatic stance. Es puro pragmatismo de parte de Lindsey, que dedicarse a defender en este momento a Trump, cuando en realidad él debe entender a conciencia cierta, debe entender que el presidente cometió un crimen contra la nación. contra la Constitución a tratar de chantajear al presidente ucraniano. Vamos a ver qué pasa con eso. Marco Rubio, ay Dios mío, senador Marco Rubio de la Florida, otro individuo que se hubiera dedicado a pedir más testigos en el caso de Bill Clinton, ahora dice, we are under no obligation. Marco Rubio says this. He would have called a lot of witnesses for Clinton, but here we are. And he says, we are under no obligation to call Bolton into this trial. That the trial should be based on the evidence already provided in the 2 articles of impeachment. So that's Senator Rubio. Again, another reason, like Senator Lindsey, these people are afraid that if they don't support Trump, the right wing will force him out of the job. It's a shame. Later on, I would like to see if our fearless leader of the board, Dylan De Rosato, can find a picture of Donald Trump Jr. And Donald Trump Jr. shared an image with a rifle, an AR-15. And on the butt of the rifle, there's a depiction of Hillary Clinton behind bars. It's unbelievable. The arrogance of this individual. He's not very smart. He's not helping the cause. He's not helping his father. I don't know what he's doing with this rifle. NRA, I guess, being that they are big supporters of the Republicans. The AR-15 features a depiction of Hillary Clinton apparently behind bars. In the images, President Trump's eldest son smiles while holding the assault rifle. Now, what is he doing with an assault rifle? The former Secretary of State I'm sorry, that's not the Secretary of State. The image apparently shows that Hillary is behind bars, and it says "lock her up." She became a frequent rally cry for supporters of Donald Trump Jr.'s father during the 2016 election, and now during the 2020 presidential campaign. The AR-15 also shows a medieval knight's helmet with a Crusader cross above the magazine. It also has "Made in the USA" and "Crusader" emblazoned on the rifle. It's like no excuse for that kind of thing. I don't understand how it can. Okay. Can we show it? Okay, thank you. It's unbelievable. This administration has done everything possible to give us, here's in your face evidence that we don't care, that we don't respect the law, we have no ethics, we have no principles, we can do whatever we want. Following Donald Trump's dictum that he could kill somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue and nothing would happen to him. I think that all the people around him are intent on proving that that is correct, that Mr. Trump can do whatever he wants. Well, the electorate will have the last word on this. At this point, Biden, Elizabeth Warren, Buttigieg, and Bloomberg in a match, supposed match against Donald Trump in the 2020 election, they would beat Trump. Any of these four candidates at the top tier of the Democratic challengers So we'll see if that is true, because there is a lot of time between now and November. Another thing that Mr. Trump just did, he ordered the killing of an Iranian commander. Now, nobody is going to defend this guy. Nobody's going to defend a man who apparently all our intelligence agencies believed was the cause of many deaths of American soldiers, that he was supposedly responsible for having plotted a lot of military actions against America. But Mr. Trump ordered his killing. And now Donald Trump adopted a tough stance against Iran after Iran responded, threatening to destroy some sites that are sacred to Iran, some cultural sites. Now Mr. Trump is under attack here in the United States for threatening that. And the top Iranian officials have renewed their threats of revenge during the funeral for General Qasem Soleiman, who now has become a martyr for the cause. So the Revolutionary Guard's top general, Major General Hossein Salami, told crowds in Kerman that the martyr Qasem Soleiman is more powerful now that he is dead. So that's what we are facing as a result of Mr. Trump's. Nobody understands what that action was about. They say it's in response to a threat, an imminent threat, but they have not provided any evidence. So now Congress wants to know. Senator Bob Mendez, in an interview he gave this very morning, said they have not seen any evidence of this imminent threat presented by General Soleiman. And he was head of the Quds Force, the overseas branch of the Revolutionary Guards. And he was killed while leaving Baghdad airport. So he was a target of the United States for a long time. Other presidents had looked into it. Nobody did anything because of the unintended consequences. And here we are. We're facing these unintended consequences. So we're going to take a brief pause here in Usala Media, la mesa redonda, the round table. De donde Rosato al tablero les habla Fernando Mendez. Regresamos en un momento.
Regresando a la escuela, sí tenía miedo. No sabía si iba a poder hacerlo. Una de las maestras que está ahí es la señora Araceli. Ella siempre tomaba su tiempo ayudándome a mí. 50% es entrando por la puerta. El otro 50% es haciendo el trabajo. Nunca es muy tarde para obtenerlo.
Encuentra clases gratis para adultos cerca de ti en completatudiploma.org.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma. I have a mentor, and she convinced me to continue my education.
No one receives a diploma alone.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Sometimes the things we do or say can make others feel hurt, excluded, or isolated. Everything you say and do creates an impact.
How am I supposed to save the whole world?
You can't think about saving the world. You have to think about saving one person.
Because of you, someone's entire life can change. You don't have to be a superhero to have a positive impact.
Friends?
Friends.
Señores siguientes de USA la Media, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Round Table. En ese momento es una mesa ovalada donde estamos. Entre otros, mi amiga Perla está sugiriendo hace tiempo que cambie el nombre del programa porque no tengo una mesa redonda. De hecho, la mesa redonda vino porque donde empezó el tema de este programa, estábamos sentados alrededor de una mesa redonda y aquí estamos en una mesa ovalada realmente aquí en el estudio. Y la idea de una mesa redonda es que haya varias personas participando. Entonces, por eso Perla estaba sugiriendo fuertemente que cambiáramos el nombre. Seguimos pensando hacerlo. Un día de estos vamos a tomar un voto entre varios amigos, participantes, colaboradores, a ver a quién se le ocurre un nombre mejor para este programa, pero hasta el momento, pues aquí continuamos con la mesa redonda. Estábamos comentando sobre el asesinato de Qasem Soleimani, un general iraní. So, who was Qasem Soleimani? Because he must have been an important person. There was a funeral attended by millions, literally millions. Unlike the inauguration of Donald Trump, where there was a lot of blank spaces that he saw, where he saw people, because we know he has an alternate reality. In this funeral, they had millions and millions of people, and there was a stampede, unfortunately, and it left scores of people dead, 50 at least, and more than 200 injured. But that's the nature of a gathering of such size, especially if there is reason for a stampede. So that's not something we celebrate. And in fact, nobody is celebrating the assassination of Qasem Soleimani. He was head of the Quds Force, the overseas branch of the Revolutionary Guards, and not that we regret his death, because apparently he was the cause of a lot of damage to this country, but about geopolitics, strategically, a bad idea. Mr. Trump just got out of bed on the wrong side and decided he was going to do this. Because we know he's done several times, he's attempted to change the topic of conversation. Now, he saw a gap now between the issuing of the articles of impeachment by Pelosi, and she has not delivered them to the Senate. And there is a lot of talk about what is in them. There's a lot of talk about John Bolton having decided to testify. There is a lot of talk about other witnesses that might be called by the senator, the head of the Senate, Mitch McConnell, has said already that he is collaborating with Donald Trump. He does not intend to call witnesses. He does not intend to find the president guilty of anything. In fact, he already absolved the president before the trial. That is unheard of. He and the other 99 senators are supposed to sit there and listen to the arguments and then decide whether or not Donald Trump is guilty. Well, let's see. We're expecting some Republican senators, among them Mitt Romney, Lisa Murkowski, a couple more senators that might change the rules and allow for the Senate to subpoena witnesses. We'll see. In the meantime, Mr. Trump saw a way to distract our attention from that issue, national preoccupation with the trial in the Senate. As long as that impeachment issue is over his head, Mr. Trump is going to be hobbled in any national election. Mientras este asunto de juicio en el Senado continúe, el señor Trump va a tener dificultades para dedicarse a una campaña nacional. Ya sabemos que a él solamente le gusta hacer campaña, en todo caso, le gusta hacer campaña solamente cuando está en medio de su gente. Él quiere este porcentaje de aproximadamente 35%, sube y baja, que lo apoya. No importa lo que haga, no importa lo que diga, no importan sus mentiras, sus atrocidades, sus ofensas a la religión, a las mujeres, a las minorías, no les importa nada. Solamente quieren a Donald Trump porque, según muchos de ellos, él representa un cambio contra el establishment, representa un cambio contra los hábitos de costumbre de los políticos. Pues sí, él sí ha creado inestabilidad y ahí es por esa razón nos encontramos en este embrolio. That's why we are where we are right now, because Trump needed to distract our attention from his impeachment trial in the Senate. As we know, there were 2 articles of impeachment for obstruction of justice and for corruption. Mr. Trump, no question that he engaged in trying to bribe the president of Ukraine. And we need to hear more evidence. We need to hear more witnesses. It could be, in the end, that people are right, that the Senate, that Congress and Pelosi rushed into the 2 articles of impeachment, but nobody can be certain. It could be that more witnesses will come up. I mean, if this rumor about 2 or 3 people willing to testify against Trump, among them John Bolton and others that might be subpoenaed, we might, General Mattis could be one of those people subpoenaed to testify, because he said at some point that he would keep quiet about Donald Trump, but not forever. And those were his words. So we suspect that he was one of the grown-ups in the room that left the administration. But back to this killing of Qasem Soleimani. Why was he so important? In his homeland, Soleimani was hailed by some as a national hero. He was a hardliner, a dominant force in a state that shot dead scores of protesters at the end of 2019. Soleimani supported Syria's President Bashar al-Assad in the country's civil conflict, aided the Shia militant group Hezbollah in Lebanon, and guided Iraqi militia groups against the Islamic State group. So the only good thing from our point of view is that he was instrumental in fighting ISIS. Justifying the strike, President Trump said Soleimani was plotting imminent attacks on U.S. diplomats and military personnel. If that is true, he has failed to provide evidence. Just this morning, a spokesman from the White House said that there's plenty of evidence, but we haven't seen it. The media has not seen it. The Democrats in Congress are demanding to see it. Senator Schumer made a statement to that extent, that he needs to see the evidence. But this is what happened since the death of Soleimani. Immediately after his death, Iran threatened retaliation. This past Sunday, Tehran declared it would no longer abide by any of the restrictions imposed by the 2015 nuclear deal. Well, experts on that matter say that Iran has actually never followed the rules of that agreement, of that deal. So this is nothing new. In his comments, the spokesman for Iran, Mr. Zarif, said President Trump has been misled by Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. And that's possible. Pompeo apparently has his own agenda. This is what Zarif said. Pompeo believes people were dancing in the streets of Tehran and Baghdad. Now I think that he has seen the sea of humanity in Iraq and Iran yesterday. Doesn't he want to admit that he's been misdirecting American foreign policy? Well, that's one of the things that we have seen here. Mr. Pompeo, in the absence of a strong Secretary of Defense, Mr. Pompeo has extended his power not only to state, but to defense. Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense. He's acting as though he is also the Secretary of Defense. And we know, because of the testimony before Congress, that Mr. Pompeo, Mr. Giuliani, Mike Mulvaney, Volker, were involved in this whole scandal in relation to Ukraine that is the basis for the impeachment. But more absurd now is that Mr. Trump is threatening to destroy cultural sites in Iran that are under the protection of the United Nations as heritage to humanity. But one top military man said that they would abide by the rules of combat, the international rules of combat, and they would not destroy any of these sites. Bueno, señores, hemos llegado al final de este segmento aquí en Úsala Media. Les habla Fernando Mendez desde la mesa redonda de Donde Rosato al tablero. Regresamos en un momento.
$150 over $90.
$180 over $111.
$160 over $110. I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure looks like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from invisible or silent. If you've come off your treatment plan, get back on it, or talk with your doctor to create an exercise, diet, and medication plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.
Our hearts are made stronger by how we treat others.
Put her there.
The light you share can impact those around you, but so can the darkness.
Later, twerps.
Did Pete saying mean things bother you?
So when you reach out to another person, take a moment to consider how they will feel and let your heart be the key to making a difference. Because of you, someone's entire day, year, or even life can change.
In every heart, there's hope.
Señoras y oyentes de Usa la Media, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda. Les habla Fernando Mendez en compañía de Andy Rosato al tablero. Estamos comentando sobre el señor Trump vis-a-vis Iran and what is happening there. The headline is Trump is under fire for a threat to Iranian cultural sites. Another headline related to that, talking about unintended consequences, a stampede at the funeral of this general that he ordered killed. A stampede killed 50 people so far, 200 injured. For the Iranian Americans, unintended consequences, obviously. At the border between U.S. and Canada, Iranian Americans are having trouble. They are being interrogated. They are being questioned, even though they are American citizens of Iranian descent. But anybody who's either coming back from Iran, was born in Iran, has an Iranian name, would be the object of questions at the U.S. border with Canada. Unintended consequences. Also, remember when we were horrified a decade ago when the barbarians, the Taliban, destroyed a very 100-year-old, 500 years old perhaps, statues of Buddha. And we thought that was an abomination, the destruction of heritage for humanity. It would be like barbarians destroying the Vatican for Christianity. Any of the, imagine somebody destroying the Sistine Chapel, destroying the Michelangelo's David. That kind of situation is unacceptable. Well, Trump is threatening to do that to Iran, where there are at least 50, if not more, sites that are viewed by the United Nations as heritage of humanity. They should be untouched. Now, curiously enough, the president threatened to destroy these sites, but the top general said that the U.S. will respect the international rules of engagement and will not destroy any of these sites. Even Adolf Hitler and the Nazis had some respect for sites. Mr. Trump has really set a new low. But he's facing growing criticism over those threats to attack Iran's cultural sites. Mr. Trump made the threats amid fallout from U.S. assassination of Iranian commander Qasem Soleimani. The president said cultural sites were among 52 identified Iranian targets that could be attacked if Iranians torture, maim, and blow up our people. Well, there's no evidence that Iranians are doing any of that. Maybe we have been fighting a sort of a proxy war with Iran for a while. There are some fringe groups, Taliban, supported by Iran, and there are other revolutionary groups that may have committed atrocities, but nothing can be attributed directly to the Ayatollahs in Iran. Not that they are friendly people, not that they are nice people. In fact, since they took over the American embassy and took up power in Iran, they have been engaged in creating disturbances around the world with this Quds force that was under the command of Qasem Soleimani. The U.S. and Iran have signed conventions to protect cultural heritage, including during this conflict. Military attacks targeting cultural sites are considered war crimes under international law. So here is Mr. Trump telling the world that he is willing to commit a war crime. Imagine when he leaves power, because he will come to an end, either by impeachment or by election or by finishing his second period. Mr. Trump will be liable for war crimes. He could be prosecuted at The Hague in an international court. He could be brought before the court for crimes against humanity, like was done with the Nazis who committed atrocities, like it was done for all the people who committed crimes. Pinochet, the Chilean dictator, he should have been indicted. So, Qasem Soleimani was killed in a U.S. drone strike in Baghdad on Friday on the orders of Mr. Trump. The killing has sharply increased regional tensions, with Iran threatening severe revenge. That's another thing. So the rhetoric is heated on both sides. And we had asked our director here, Dylan, to find the little segment from Al-Sadr, almost poetic segment in which he responds to Mr. Trump. Let me see. Dylan will let me know when he has it ready. Because it's atrocious. Mr. Trump has identified all these sites, and they are monuments to human ingenuity, artistic creations. They are things that should never be destroyed. But so this is what I'm trying to read what Dylan found. But Dylan, if you can read it, will you please?
Sure. He tweeted addressing Trump saying, "O son of brothel, casinos, and nightclubs, your voice and tweets are more strident than sound of donkey."
But he said he spoke, or somebody in his name spoke something about you threaten a nation like Iran, something like that, and then
You threaten a nation to famine. Do you think that money of Hijaz, states of Persian Gulf, teachers in Arsenal will help you? If you succumb, we are students of peace, and if you fight, we are students of war. Your home is less stable than spider web, and your weapon is weaker than mosquito bites. Incredible.
So this is a response to Mr. Trump's rhetoric, and it, as I said, it's heated rhetoric on both sides, and so we already mentioned the unintended consequences. A stampede at a funeral that killed 50 people and 200 injured. But Trump says the U.S. is ready to strike 52 Iranian sites. A general says, we're not going to do that. A U.S. general has said, no, we're not going to do that. We respect the rules of war, international rules. So, as usual, we heard from supporters of Mr. Trump on Monday, the White House advisor Kellyanne Conway, remember her? She's been quiet for a while. Kellyanne Conway defended the president, saying he had not said he was targeting cultural sites, only asking the question. But then Trump, in the next breath, Trump comes and restates that he's going to attack cultural sites. So right away, she looks like she doesn't know what she's talking about. Looks like she's not actually talking to the president, just simply defending him, because that is a reflexive nature of his supporters, that they will defend him at all costs. So, Kellyanne Conway also said, Iran has many strategic military sites that you may cite are also cultural sites. Wow. So what she's saying is that the cultural sites are military sites in Iran, which is not true. Actually, the United Nations has identified, certified that these are cultural sites, not military sites. So she's wrong again. But the Defense Secretary, Mark Esper, when he was asked if the U.S. would target cultural sites, and so he said, we will follow the laws of armed conflict. That's the Secretary of Defense. When asked if that meant no, because targeting a cultural site is a war crime, he responded, that's the laws of armed conflict. So here we are. We have a president who is defying international law, international agreements, because he thinks he can do around the world what he has managed to do here, because he has a supine Congress, supine Senate that follows his lead, Republicans who will never question this president, Republicans like Moscow Mitch, who already promised that Trump is not going to be found guilty in his trial in the Senate. That is the most vexing statement coming from the head of the Republicans in the Senate, the leader who will be listening to evidence against this president. He has already decided the outcome. He and Senator Lindsey Graham, those two people, Moscow Mitch and Lindsey Graham, are the most despicable spokesmen for the Senate. They have already promised this president that no matter what happens, no matter what is said, no matter the arguments, that he is going to be found not guilty. That is unbelievable. And these are the people who represent us in the legislature. Bueno, amigos, hemos llegado al final de este segmento aquí en USA la Media. Les habla Fernando Mendez, Dylan de Rosato al tablero. Regresamos en un momento.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham-bam minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high-five.
Being prepared is a part of who you are, but it's especially important in the case of a disaster. Be informed. about possible emergencies in your area. Make a plan that covers where you'll go in an emergency. Build a kit with the things you need to survive. There's no one more capable of planning for your situation than you. Start your plan today. Go to ready.gov/myplan.
Señores oyentes de USA la Media, estamos aquí de nuevo en la mesa redonda desde el corazón de Barrio Hispano en la ciudad del amor fraternal. Les habla Fernando Mendez, Dylan de Rosato al tablero. Estamos hablando sobre el tema del señor Trump amenazando con la destrucción de sitios culturales en Irán. Y la crítica que eso levantó. What criticism did the comments from Mr. Trump draw? From all over the world. The Director General of the UN Cultural Organization, UNESCO, Audrey Azoulay, said both Iran and the U.S. had signed a 1972 convention to protect the world's natural and cultural heritage. They have also both signed a 1954 convention protecting cultural property in the event of armed conflict. Mr. Trump withdrew the U.S. from UNESCO in 2018, citing alleged anti-Israeli bias. What other atrocity will this president commit? Parenthesis here about that trial in the Senate. It's important. People are saying, why carry on? Let him go. Let's vote him out of office. No, he needs to know. We need to know. We need to impeach him in the Senate. We need to find him guilty of atrocities, of destroying the culture of this country, of undermining our standing in international affairs, of threatening to destroy these sites in Iran that are natural sites and the cultural heritage of humanity. And this individual, this barbarian, is threatening to destroy them. So if we leave him untouched, unimpeded, what other atrocities will he commit? He has already destroyed the Republican Party. He has undermined the courts, the legislature, the media, our intelligence agencies. Nobody trusts them anymore. Nobody believes the media because he has already taken care of that, saying that everything that we say is fake news. This man needs to be impeached, needs to be found guilty. And this is another atrocity he has added to that. U.S. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren and Chris Murphy said Mr. Trump was threatening to commit war crimes, echoing similar statements by Iran's Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif. On Monday, United Kingdom Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab said cultural sites were protected by international law, and Britain expected that to be respected. So, from every corner of the world, they are complaining about the actions by Mr. Trump. Well, on that note, unfortunately, a very negative note, we'll leave you. And we thank you por su sintonía en el día de hoy, aquí en USA la Media, la Mesa Redonda. Se despide usted, Fernando Méndez, Dylan de Rosato al tablero. Los esperamos. Hasta la próxima.
come on.